What's up, guys? This is the actually third video I'm doing today. I've never done that before, but there is something I forgot to talk about. The recent news about Daniel Suarez going to the '96 car and staying in Cup, and so I wanted to give my thoughts on that. And also, the Titans, of course, they lost. Uh, my sporting rooting history has not been good. Uh, the only team that's ever given me consistent winning, in terms of championships and things like that, is the Yankees. All the other teams I've ever rooted for, they always fucking lose. They always lose at the end. They get close and whatever. So this is just another notch in that history. So hopefully next year they could do a little better. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about Suarez. And the thing is, a lot of people are saying he's making a big mistake, staying with a small cup team that has no chance of doing anything, and that he should have went to Xfinity and ran, try to compete for a championship or whatever. And so, basically, I disagree with that. I understand that, yeah, this is not a good car. It's not going to be competitive. But I honestly think that Suarez is in a bad position. He doesn't have as many options as you'd think. Now, even if he took a top tier ride in the Xfinity, went down and won another championship, I don't think that automatically would put him back in the good graces of NASCAR Cup owners, right? The reason being is that no matter how you look at it, when you go to Cup and then you go back to the Xfinity series, I don't care how you slice it, it is a step down. And especially if you already won at the Xfinity level. And he won a championship, won some races, proved that he can run down there in the lower series. There's nothing for him to prove. This idea that he needs to go back down to Xfinity then improve himself. He doesn't need to prove himself. He's shown that what he can do down there. Owners know what he can do down there, right? What I think the problem is I don't think a couple of years in Cup is enough of an opportunity. And unfortunately, we live in a new age. If you go back 20 years ago, NASCAR was very different. The Cup series was a veteran series. It was very rare that you got these young guys just out of diapers uh, getting a big Cup ride. That just didn't really happen often. And if you were a veteran, even into your 40s, if you still wanted a ride, you had a top quality ride. Times are different. Times have changed a lot in recent NASCAR history. Now you routinely get these kids with not a lot of experience getting these big Cup rides. And owners all want to catch that lightning in the bottle. They want that next big name that, because it helps with promotion and getting sponsors. Everybody wants that next big name. So that's why I think going down to Xfinity would be a mistake. I think that it's going to be seen as a step down. I don't care who it is. Because there's always going to be these young, fresh faces down in Xfinity that are going to get that opportunity before Suarez. Because they're going to say he already had a chance. He was in a Gibbs car, and then he was in a Stewart Haas car. Even though it was just for one season apiece, it just isn't a lot of time. And there's a lot of guys in Cup that have opportunities that you can easily say, why do they have this opportunity? They've been around a while now. They're not doing much either. But for some reason, all you hear from people about Suarez is, he had his chance in a top ride and he didn't make it happen. That's really not fair, I don't think. I think he has talent. And I do agree he didn't do enough in those rides, um, I guess, to warrant uh, people like defending him, right? So I'm not really here to say everybody's wrong. It's hard to defend it when he didn't win any races. That being said, I do think he has shown enough ability driving a cup car to show that he can race. He has that ability. And I do think that it was a short, it was a little, it wasn't enough of an opportunity. So if you look at, especially this year, I think he had a lot of good runs, but he just didn't have the finishes. Something always happened. He ran up front early, and mechanical issues on the track with another driver, or bad pit strategy. Whatever the case may be, there were a lot of times this year where he was running really fast, and for one reason or another, it just didn't pan out, right? So I do think that people overlook that, and they make it look like, oh, he didn't do shit this year. And for the first half of the year, he was in the top, I think, 12 in the point standings. Then he had a really bad run, and he fell out of that, and it was pretty much over. He had a couple decent runs in the last few races, but I can't really argue with people who say, what, uh, they didn't have to keep him around. But you could make a similar case for Clint Boyer, I think. Yeah, Boyer had some better runs. Okay, I don't want to argue about it, right? So I'm not here to fight to the death for Suarez. I like Suarez. I like his personality. I think he can drive. Basically, that's all I'm really saying. I think that there's nothing for him to prove in Xfinity. I think it's going to be seen as a step down. I don't care how anyone slices it. Once you already prove yourself at a lower division, you don't go back. You just don't. So I don't really think he had as many options as people think. And I think that he doesn't have a choice. If he's fighting for his career, for his Cup career, the only way to do that is in the Cup Series. And you take the best opportunity that you can possibly get, and you do the best you can with it. And he's probably not going to do well. But if he can squeeze out a couple of decent finishes where people look and say, you know what, he got more out of that ride than he should have gotten through sheer talent. You look at Matt DiBenedetto, the reason that he's been able to lift his profile is because that he was able to squeeze out some decent finishes out of a bad opportunity. And that's what people say. It's like, wow, look, he finished top 15 here. He was running in the top 5 here, and then he kind of fell back. But, man, he showed something. And I think that carries a lot more weight than somebody going backwards to a lower level in better equipment and then having, winning a few races. If you already did it before. Like, if he never won a championship and he never won races in Xfinity, it would be a different story. But I think going back now, he's already proven himself in the lower series. I think it would have been a bad move. Stay in Cup, get the best possible opportunity you can get, and do the best you can, and hope for the best. Is it going to work out? Probably not. Chances are it's not. That is really not a good team. But this is where he is. And when you get lemons, you try to make lemonade with it. And this is the best possible opportunity, in my opinion. I just think that staying in Cup at least keeps him relevant in the Cup Series. And he's still young. He still has talent, and maybe an opportunity opens up next year. And maybe an owner says, you know what, maybe instead of taking a chance with one of these kids that are just too young in the Xfinity, let me give this guy another shot. He has Cup experience, and that still carries some weight, I think. And maybe he can get another chance down the line this way. And I do think out of the two opportunities, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but I do think it's just better to stay in Cup. Um, you're still racing with Cup drivers, and people in the sport, fans may not see it, but people in the sport, the owners, other people who run these teams, they'll they'll keep an eye on him, and they'll notice him because he's there. And if he has a decent run here and there, and he shows that he can drive, maybe it stays in the back of their mind. And if a seat opens up later and it's a better ride, you know what? I could see an owner saying, you know what? He's got Cup experience, and that still means something. And you know what? Let's give him another chance. You never know. De Benedetto, he's been around for a while. He never gave up, and he made the best of his opportunities. And he was able to squeeze out a better opportunity. So now he's going to be in a much better ride and has the opportunity to try and to make something happen. And I don't think if he was in the Xfinity series that would have happened. Who knows, right? But those are my thoughts. I think that Suarez made the best possible decision that he could make under these circumstances. Times are different. And you're not necessarily going to make people see you in a different light by going backwards. He already proved himself in the lower series. Don't go back. And it just has this negative feeling, behind it. It's still a step down, and I don't care how you slice it. So, those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments.